So there are quite a number of us that came together to organize this workshop. And one of the key and very important people is Professor Gianmarco Regnanis. He's at University Catholic de Louvain. And we will give him some time to talk to us about things that may be helpful to us in this training, and also tell us a little bit about some of the things that he has applied machine learning for. So, Gianmarco, please.
Thank you very much, Omololu. I mean, you are as important as I am in this thing, and all the organizers are important. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm happy to be here today, and I'm happy to be part of this, this series of lectures and the workshop that will take place in May. I am involved in many things in terms of databases and machine learning. So I started being involved in a high throughput calculation, generating information about the transport properties of materials and then of phonons. All of that is available on the materials project. And then I started using this data, and I quickly realized that in order to have access to different databases, because I mentioned to the materials project that there is many other databases online available and that are open, like Nomad, Materials Cloud, Airflow, OQMD, and probably forgetting many of them. But so we wanted to have access to all these data, trying to use a similar query method, because as they existed a few years ago, each of them had a different API. And so in order to query those databases, you would have to learn the different APIs. And so I got involved in a project that is called Optimate, by which we have developed something that makes it possible to use the same query to query all those different databases. And the part of this lecture that I will be involved in is precisely to present you these databases, what the kind of information that they have, and then also how you can query them with the Optimate API. And then once all these data are available there, the next thing that you want to do is to be able to use machine learning to make faster prediction, because DFT calculation are demanding, and so it takes time to screen many materials. And so I got involved into the development of a method that is used to train a machine learning model in order to get better prediction of the properties. And this method is called ModNet. And one of my PhD students is going to teach you some basics of machine learning. So it's called Pierre-Paul de Breuk. And so you will be among the first teachers that you will have. So the idea is that with these tools, you should be able to screen materials, searching for certain properties. And just to give you examples of how we use that, one of the first approaches that, applications that we used was to screen for transparent conducting oxides. So these transparent conducting oxides are used both in your cell phones, where you want to see what's coming from the screen. So that has to be transparent, and it has to be conducting, because when you touch the screen, then something needs to happen. And so having such transparent and conducting material, it's two antagonistic properties, because usually to have transparent material, you need it to have a big gap, and to be conducting, it should have a small gap. So that's a bit contradictory. And so the way you do that is that you dope material with a large gap, and that there is not many materials that have the possibility to have this while having a good curvatures of the band, because the curvature of the band relates to the mobility of the carriers there. And so basically one of the first application of this approach was precisely to search for P-type doped material that presented a large enough band gap while having a good curvature of the band that translates into a low effective masses. And so there was a paper that we published in 2013. And since then, we have been searching for different kinds of materials. And so here, again, I mean, you will learn about different tools that can be used to do similar things. And that will be it for me today. I'll get back to you later on in this lecture.
Okay. Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Marco. Yeah. So I launch a poll now, and so you should just answer the questions, whether you've used Python before or not. Okay, thanks again, Jamako. So we are going to start with the
Very
Python.
welcome.
Okay, so it's probably about 50-50. So 51% of people have used Python before, 49% have never used Python before. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, so we are going to start by getting everybody to install Python. So I'll show you what the schedule is. Let me share my screen and show you the schedule. Okay, can you all see my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start by installing and using Python, and then I'll introduce you to the IDEA lead, and then you write your first Python program, very simple, and then we'll move on to variables and operators. If we can, we'll start data types today, and then the next time we'll meet, we'll start with interactive programs and conditional statements, and then we keep going on until we get to some object-oriented programming. Okay. Python is a very powerful tool, and I'll show you something that I was able to do. The main thing is that many people working on using Python, and people in the community have written a lot of Python libraries that you can just call to do different things. So this is different from, say, when you write Fortran. Yes, there are many libraries also, but I think there are huge number. There's a huge number of libraries for in Python compared to the one for Fortran, or yeah, for Fortran. So I will show you something that you could do in Python, and all I did with this was just to call a number of libraries, and I was able to do this. Okay. In the meantime, if you've not been able to install Python from the email that I sent to you, Python 3, then you can say something in the chat, and we'll try to help you to install Python 3. If you're on Linux, I'll send you a link just now that you can use. I assume everybody is using Ubuntu, but I'll send you anyway a link that you can use to install Python on your Linux box. Okay. Please make sure you install Python 3. So it could be Python 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, 3.9, or even 3.10, but it has to be 3 point something. Okay, so in the chat, there's a link that you can use to install Python 3 on a Linux box. On Windows or Mac, you can just go to python.org, and then from there you can see how to you can download the installer that can help you to install. So I expect everybody has installed on Windows, and if you need to install on Linux, this is the link that I've just sent to you. The issue with Linux is in the past, they used to only have Python 2, like Python 2.7. So Python 3 may not be there by default, so you may need to install Python 3 yourself. Python 2.7 was the de facto Python before, but now they've migrated to Python 3. Some of the syntaxes are different, and it's good to also just migrate to Python 3 even at this time. Okay, so if you Linux, then there's a link that I've shared that you can use to install. Windows, in the email, you have to go to python.org to be able to. Okay. So I don't see anybody say anything in the chat. So I assume everybody has installed Python. Okay. You can also install an integrated development environment. Oh, okay. You can also install an integrated an integrated development environment. Some people call it IDLE because the L in development, or you can call it IDE. So it's just a software that makes some things easier for you. So later on, okay. Yes, okay. So one of the reasons why I wanted you to install this Python from python.org is because it's a small package. Okay. Later on in the week, we are going to move to install another Python package, and this is the one that has that you install with Anaconda. When you install it with Anaconda, it has many of the libraries that are missing in the first one that you installed. The first one that you installed is just a small one that will help you to get started and be able to run many programs. The second one that you will install later in the week, the file is bigger, it's like half a gig, so it will take more time to install. And I mean, more time to download, not to install. And then, yeah, maybe more time to install also. But it's really like half a gig, and so you just spend time to download it. To download, someone wants the link for IDLE. If you are on a Windows machine, then you already have the IDLE if you installed from the python.org. So on a Windows machine or Mac machine, once you install from the python.org, then you already have the IDLE. If you are on a Linux box, say Ubuntu, yeah. So Ezekiel has told us how we can install. So in that case, you can just, on the Ubuntu box, you can just do sudo apt install IDLE 3. Okay, it's not super important to have the IDLE, but it's helpful. Also, we are going to be migrating to Jupyter as our IDLE or as our IDE. And so if you on Ubuntu and you don't install IDLE 3, there's no problem. Okay, but please try to install this Python interpreter from python.org. Okay, if you're on Ubuntu also, it's likely, and you've not done this before, it's likely that you have Python 2. Okay, so then it will be important to move on to install Python 3 on your machine. Okay, so the link that I sent, and I will send again, will show you how to install Python 3 on your Linux machine. Okay. If you're on a Windows machine, the python.org page that we sent to you already shows you what to do. And make sure you install Python 3 point something. Don't install Python 2.7. It has to be Python 3 point something. Okay. Okay. So at this point, I think many of us are on the same page. If you have an issue with installing still, you can send an email to MLESMD@IFR.org. So it's MLESMD@IFR.org. So we'll try to respond to it and tell you what to do. Okay. Okay. So a couple of things. So one thing I'll do is I'll just quickly show you one of the powers of Python. Okay, Python, the code you write in Python may not be as fast as the code you write in C, C++, or Fortran. Okay, the code itself may not be as fast. But the good thing about Python is it saves you a lot of human time. So the time you spend to write, I don't know, maybe 200 lines of code in Fortran or C, you probably can just spend a tenth of that to write 4 or 5 lines of code in Python, and it does the same thing. Okay. Your executable in C or Fortran will very likely be faster than the interpreter in Python, but your human time, which is very precious, you spend only less of it. So one of the things I use Python for is to do prototyping. I have an idea, I quickly execute it in Python, and then if it works, then I can now think of how to translate it to C or Fortran and have a program. Okay, so this is a very good thing about Python. So I'll show you something just to pique your interest, and then we'll go. So I think it's so let me see if you can see my screen. I'll share screen. Okay, so this is something that is taken from some work related to Hans Rosling's work. So he died a few years back. So he's the one that made us know that we should not worry about overpopulation in the world. The world population is going to peak at around 10 to 11 billion people. And he tried to explain it. But he's very good at statistics and demonstrating things in a meaningful way using statistics. So I'll show you this. So this is a Jupyter notebook. I think once I show you this and we do a few lessons, you should be able to just do this on your own just by getting some instructions. Okay. So what is this chart showing us? So this chart is showing us different countries and how the lifespan of those countries change as a function of time from 1952 to 2007. Okay. So this is just to illustrate to you the power of Python. So this is the lifespan of the average lifespan of people in different countries. And this is how much money they have per person. So this is the GDP per capita. So this is the GDP of the per person. Okay, for each country. The size of the bubble shows you the population of the country. So for instance, this big bubble is China. In 1952, there were like this number of people in China. Okay, and then this bubble is India. In 1952, they were slightly smaller than China. This bubble is United States. In 1952, there were just like 158 million people in the United States, but they had more or less the highest lifespan. So there's multiple data that is in here. The color code, blue means the country is from Asia, red means it's from Europe, green or turquoise means it's from Africa, and things like that. Of course, with this data, the first thing I want to see is where is Nigeria? Okay. Sorry, because I'm from Nigeria. Okay, but you can see Nigeria is here. The GDP per capita is this much. The lifespan, average lifespan is that much. And you can look at other countries. There's Egypt, there's Ethiopia, and other countries from here. This is really not what I want to show you. I'll tell you what I want. I mean, I've told you already what I want to show you. So I click on this, and then you can see how everything progresses until 2007. So you see that the wealth of the countries increase until 2007. The lifespan also increases, but also the size of the bubbles increase also because the population increases also. So China now is like 1.3 billion. They've overtaken India as at 2007, which was 1.1 billion. US had increased to 301 million by 2007. So this is a good example of something you can do in Python. The good thing about it is it just took me a few lines of code to be able to do this. So I'll show you the few lines that I was able to do. So first I imported this library at the top, and then I filled this data just by one line of command. Okay. So this, if you need it, you can see how to install it. You can go online, it will tell you how to install Plotly. Once you have Anaconda, then many of these things are easy to install. So I type Gap Finder, so it displays all the data for the different countries, the different continents, from 1952 all the way to 2007 for all the countries, Afghanistan all the way to Zimbabwe. The life expectancy is here. Okay. The population is here, so that's the population that we use to determine the size of the bubble. The GDP per capita is also here, and then there's some other data. Okay, so this is one line of code, second line of code. This line of code, I only did it to show you. I didn't have to put it, okay? But at least it helps you to know what is in the data. And then there's this line of code that shows how to plot the different things. I won't go into the details, but the main thing is that with just a few lines of code, we can do exactly this. Okay. Does anybody have a question at this time? Okay. Later on in the course, I'm going to have questions for you, and I'm going to send you the questions. And you'll be able to do the questions. Okay. Then you'll be able to do the questions later on. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can type it in the chat. So I'm watching both of them. Okay, so I hope I've been able, from what I've said, been able to give you an idea of why it's good for you to learn Python. And from what Gianmarco, or how to upgrade ideally 2 to 3. Oh, to upgrade ideally 2 to 3. So someone is asking the question. Yes, the recorded video will be sent to you, and you'll be able to watch it and listen. You can upgrade from ideally 2 to 3. So you just have to do sudo apt-get install ideally 3. If you do sudo apt install ideally 3, I think it will install ideally 3 for me. Okay. So from what I've shown you now, I'll explain to you, and from what Professor Gianmarco has explained to you, I think you should see that is good for you to learn Python, because many of the things you do in machine learning, that we do in machine learning, is based on Python. I mean, we use Python as the language to do many of the things that we do in machine learning. So I think this is very important. So I don't do anybody that uses C for machine learning as the front end, or people that use Fortran for machine learning as the front end. Definitely you can use it, but many of these things are already written in Python, and it's easier to just use Python. So it's good for you to be able to learn Python. Okay, so let's get started with the training. So if you're on a Windows machine, you can start your Python. So let me stop here. And I'll stop my video also. I'm stopping my video so that you have enough bandwidth. Oh, okay. If you take a look at the email we sent to you, then in the email we'll describe how you can install Python. If you're on a Windows machine, once you install Python using that link, then you already have IDLE. So I just need to show you how to navigate and get the IDLE. So for me, when I do this, I already have Python module. Sorry, I already have Python, ideally Python. It's already in my, what do you call this now? Start menu, okay, on Windows. So I installed it. The way I installed it, I probably will not install it, but I'll show you how I installed it. So of course I downloaded it, and then so I downloaded it, and once I downloaded it, now I have to turn this. Okay, I go to my downloads. So in my downloads, there's supposed to be this Python 3.8.10 AMD64. So I double clicked it. It's a small file, relatively, it's 27 point something, 27.6, so it's 28 meg. So I click run. Okay. In this case, it already knows that I installed it already. So it's asking me whether to modify or to repair or install. But you can just double click it once you download it in Windows and keep clicking, continue. Oh, there's a step actually. What do I do now? There's a step where you whether to add. Yes.
No screen. You are not.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I always forget. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. I always forget even with my student. So okay, let me do this. Let me uninstall it, and then I will now install it again, and then you'll see. So you go to python.org. Okay, I'll go there just now. So let's go. So I sent you a link, and you go to Python. Okay, in python.org, you have this, and you can go to downloads. Okay. Click on downloads, and the reason I click on downloads is not here. You can't, depending on your version of Windows, you can't use you can't use just any of the packages. So here I go to Windows, because I already know this. Okay, so you see that it says that note that Python 3.10 cannot be used on Windows 7 or earlier. My machine is Windows 7. Okay, please don't ask me why I still have Windows 7. Okay. So I can't use Python 3.10. Python 3.9 I cannot use because it cannot be used on Windows 7 or earlier. Okay. But if you have Windows 10, you probably can just pick anything. Python 3.8.12 cannot be used on Windows XP or earlier. So finally, I think what I did, I had to install Python 3.8. So you figure out which version you can install. So 3.9 cannot be used on Windows 7 or earlier. So I had to install Python 3.8. So let me see. Yeah. So I downloaded one of these Python 3.8 point something version. Let me try to see which one is the latest. I don't remember which one I downloaded. Sorry. So let me go down. So I'll just go down and be able to see. Okay. So I can download Python 3.8.8 RC1. Okay. So my machine is a 32-bit machine. So I clicked on this one, and then it asked me if I want to save the file. I save the file, and then once I downloaded it. So one reason why I sent you the email was to make sure you download before we come. And please make sure you download Anaconda by Wednesday. It's a huge file, like half a gig. But if you start downloading from now, you should be able to download everything. If you're having troubles downloading, you can install the IDM, Internet Download Manager. Okay. And on Windows, you can, sorry, on Linux, you can install XDman, XDMAN. So it's the Extreme Download Manager. So it's Extreme Download. So this is for Linux. So I advise you to download it. The good thing about using a download manager is usually it can restart the download. I'm sorry, not restart, continue the download. So if you are downloading and your data finished and you had to buy more and then start installing again, start downloading again. With the download managers, many times, depending on the website, it can continue from where it stopped. Okay, so I hope everybody can see my screen now. If I'm typing something in chat, it's in the chat, but I think everybody can see.
Excuse me, we cannot see your screen.
You cannot see my screen. So I stop share and I share again. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, please tell me if something like that happens. Oftentimes I forget, and then sometimes also Zoom has an issue. Okay, so I've downloaded this from this page. So I have to choose, because you see I can't download Python 3.9.4 because my machine is Windows 7. Okay, and it says Python 3.9.4 cannot be used on Windows 7 or 11. If you are on a Linux box, you probably already have Python 3. If not, I sent a link that you can use to install Python 3 on your Linux box. We'll be using Python 3, not Python 2. Okay. I send the link again, and you can use it to download to install Python 3 on a Linux box. Okay. So now that I've been downloaded, I'll go to where I downloaded it. Actually, so I'm going to cheat a little because I really need this Python 3. So I'm going to use Python 3.10. Okay, so you double click on what you have downloaded. Okay, I say run. Okay, so it asks me different question. Install now, blah blah. You can click this, add Python 3.8 to path. Okay, so it is useful. And then I click install now. So it just installs normally. So I click add Python 3.8 to the path. I think it's useful so that then from the path I can, okay, ideally for Windows, good. You don't have to install ideally for Windows separately. Once you install this Python 3.8 setup, it comes already with the IDE. Okay, so you don't have to install it separately. It comes already with the IDE. This is not the best IDE. You will see later that Jupyter installing with Anaconda will give you another IDE called Jupyter, and this is very good and very powerful. So I would recommend to, as soon as you can, download the Conda Anaconda package. There's also Miniconda, which is smaller, but the problem with Miniconda is if you download it, you will still have to download so many packages later on. Okay? So it's better to just download Anaconda, not Miniconda. Download Anaconda, and then the remaining packages you will have to download, if needed, will be very few. But if you download Miniconda instead of Anaconda, later on you have to keep installing many of the other packages. So I would just advise to download Anaconda, and we'll go with Anaconda. Yeah, but we won't be using it until say Wednesday or Thursday. Okay. Okay, so I click close. So the setup was successful. So someone asked me a question, and the question was whether we'll meet every day at this time, 2 to 4 p.m. I'll say yes, except something came up over the weekend. So tomorrow we'll meet at 3 to 4. Okay. The reason is this. The reason is that I'm running after money. There's a grant, and some people are going to tell us about the grant tomorrow, starting exactly 2 p.m. So I want to at least attend a part of it, and then yeah. Okay, yeah, Python 3.9.6 should be fine. Okay. Yes, with the same Zoom link. The same Zoom link, you'll be able to come every day. Actually, tomorrow I probably can open the room so that you can be there. And if you have questions among yourselves, you can ask before I try to come from this meeting at 3 p.m. Okay. So tomorrow I'll join you at 3 p.m. But from 2 p.m. I want to pursue a grant. So I apologize in advance. Okay. If you get the grant and it's good, then probably we can have more programs. Okay. Okay, so I've installed this. So in Windows, you go to Start, and you can try to type the name of the program. So the name you type is IDLE, and it comes up IDLE Python 3.8 64-bit for me. Okay. For you, it could be something else. Yeah. Python 3.6 is enough, yes. So for you, it could be something else. So I click on this, and once I click on it, it gives me this terminal. Okay, I think you remember some of the things I did before because your terminal may not look like this one. So one thing I did was I went to options, and in options, I click configure ideally. Can you all see? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So someone asked, what's the okay. Okay. So someone asked, what's the role of ideally? It just makes things easier for us to be able to enter different things. It provides some support that you won't get from other means. Okay, later on you'll see that you can type your code just in a text editor and you can run your script. But then you don't get some other things which you will see now. You'll see as we go along that the ideally provides for you. Okay. So if you go to options, you can configure your ideally to look the way you want it to look. For instance, you can configure your fonts. So I configured my fonts to use Comic Sans MS. Okay, you can choose anyone. I configured the size to be large because I know I'll be presenting and I want everybody to be able to look at it, to be able to see it. Other things you can try to configure, but I didn't go into the other things. I just configured my font. This part, Python indentation width. Later on, you'll know why it's important, but for now, you don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, so it gives you this terminal. So is everybody able to have this terminal? Okay. Okay, great. So one of the things, okay, if you're in Python, then I think you should just type Python 3.8 or 3 point something. Unfortunately, on my laptop, I don't have. Okay, let me see. I think I only have Python 2.7 on my laptop. So if you are using Python, so my laptop, actually I have Python 3.4. So I do Python 3.4. Okay. Or if I do Python 3, yeah, Python 3 on my laptop defaults to Python 3.4. Okay. You can do on Linux, you can do Python 3 and do minus version, and it will tell you the version of Python you have. If you do Python minus version on some laptops, on some Linux machine, it will give you Python 2.7 because Python defaults to Python 2.7. Okay, on many Ubuntu machines, but some now default to Python 3. Okay, but if you do Python 3, it will give you Python 3.4 exactly. So you can just type Python 3, and then if you have it, then you have Python 3 already installed. Should you use Linux or use Windows? Okay, the thing about it is this. For optimum performance, I think you should be on a Linux machine. Okay, so either use VirtualBox or something else to use Linux because many things are easier. Okay, but the issue is if I do that, then I have to teach everybody, or we have to teach everybody Linux and make sure everybody knows how to use Linux. So I would say, please try to learn Linux on your own. If there's a course I know that can help you to learn Linux, I'll let you know. Okay. But in the interim, I think whether you use Windows or you use Linux for this part of the program, then it's not too important. Okay. Later on, when we are doing machine learning in electronic structure and MD, developing force fields, then you may need to really use Linux. Okay. But I think for the rest of this calendar year till December, you probably will be happy to use your Windows. Okay. And then maybe during the break, during the Christmas holiday, you can learn a lot of Linux. Okay. So this is how to do it in Linux. You just type Python 3. Fortunately I don't have ideally. Let me check. I have my desktop, so let me check ideally, and I'll tell you how ideally works. Someone says it's not showing me anything, so let's go back to the Windows. Yes, we are going to share the recording. So let's go back to the Windows. So with the Windows, you have to search for ideally 3. Or actually, no, search for ideally. If you search for ideally, okay, you know, Windows change a lot during these days, because then there's Windows 10, and this is not the way you search in Windows 10. But search, once you install it, search for ideally, and once you search for ideally, then it should be able to give you this. Okay. Colette, are you able to do it? If you're on the Windows box, Linux box, you can just type Python 3. Let me see how to bring up the ideally.
Yeah, it can open, but when I type Python 3, it doesn't show anything.
Oh, okay. No. The Python 3 is on a Linux box.
Okay.
But, yeah, but if you're in Windows, sorry. So on this machine, I have both Windows and Linux. So I try to show for both people. Okay. So here I have exactly this. So I just went there. I type ideally. It brings up this one, and I click on it, and it gives me this. Okay. And then you can go to options, and you can configure it if you want. So I think we are on the same page. So let me try to see how to bring it up here. Okay. If you installed ideally, like on a Linux machine, so with sudo apt install ideally 3. So on Linux, you can bring it up by just typing ideally 3. If you do that, if you type ideally 3, then ideally comes up with Python 3 point something. I know because I have a how can one install Linux also already a Windows machine? Okay, send me a message later, Oluwashem, and then I'll be able to show you how, or guide you to install Linux on a Windows machine. Okay, so I think we can get started with this one now. So once you have this terminal, it's easy to start doing many things. So for instance, I can just type let me change this one. For instance, I can just type 2 plus 3 and hit enter, and it gives me 5. So this is the simplest thing you can use this for as a calculator. You can just do 2 plus 3, or if you like, you can add 2.675. You can add it to 1.345, and it give you the answer. So you can do simple things like this for as a calculator. You know, I work with some students, and they have this laptop, their laptop with them, and then they need to calculate some number, and then they bring out the calculator. No, if you have the Mac computer with you, you can just use this IDLE or Python, and you don't have to bring in your Texas Instruments calculator or whatever calculator to do it. You can have everything there. So you see exactly what I did. So you can add numbers. You can do something like, oh, okay, be careful with spaces. So if I had put a space and said 2.675 plus 1.345, okay, it gives me an error, unexpected indent. So be careful with spaces. Okay. So I didn't put any space, and I can put do 3 greater than 2. Okay, I'm asking the question whether 3 is greater than 2 or not. Then it tells me it's true, 3 is greater than 2. Okay. Then, so these are some of the things you should try as you go along. So you should just try it also. Yes. So I hope everybody is able to try this. Okay. And then you can, okay. So the good thing about this ideally is that it's color codes some things. Okay. So I can print hello world. You see, when we were learning for C, C++, this is the first thing they get us to do, to print hello world. So for Python, okay, print hello world, hello world. In this case, you can use single quotes or you can use double quotes. So print is a command asking the shell to display the words print hello world. Okay, to display the words hello world. So the difference between Python and compiled programs, compiled languages, is that Python is interpreted line by line. The interpreter, which is some software, interprets and gives you the result line by line. For a compiled language like C, C++, it converts everything at once to something that the machine can understand. In this case, with Python, line by line, it converts it to something the machine can understand. So it's interpreted line by line. Okay, so okay. Someone asked me a question. I try to answer the question now. So the time that we started is 14 o'clock or 14:00 hours, GMT plus 2. GMT plus 2 is the time in Kigali. Okay. The time in Nigeria is GMT plus 1. I think the time in Cameroon is also GMT plus 1. Yeah. So 14 o'clock here will be 13 o'clock in Nigeria. Okay. And that will be 12 o'clock in Ghana. So that helps you with the time zone. So we can quickly just type print hello world and it prints exactly this. Okay. So this works well and is good, and you can do many things with this. Okay. You can you can do many things with this. The problem with this is once I close this shell, everything I've typed goes away. So once you close this shell, everything you've typed goes away. So you can just use it as a calculator, okay, and a bit more powerful in a calculator. One thing I found with this is if you use this ideally, you really cannot go back to edit what you have written before. Okay. So one thing, and apart from that, when you close this, it closes forever. Okay. So what can you do in that case? One thing you can do, you can go to File, and then click on New File. So is everybody there? Go to File, and then click on New File. So if you click on New File, it opens a new editor for you. So this editor is something that helps to create a Python script. So in this case, you see that you'll be able to go back and do different things. So on the left here, I have the shell, but on the right, so from the shell, I go to File, New File, and with the new file, then it opens this for me. So here I can type different things that I want, and I can save it. Okay. So let me start by typing this. And I type print hello world. So I've typed print hello world, and then I can save it. You can run it, you can save it. So here the commands are at the top. I can save it. So I save it. Control S also works to save it. It asks me where I want to save it. Okay. So I already have some programs there. So this one I will call, let's call it first. The extension, it will give it an extension because we said is we save it as a Python file. So you're going to save it as first.py. So on the ideally, you really cannot go back, but if you do this, then you are able to. Okay, so I type print hello world. Okay, now I do run. I run the module, or you can use F5. So you see, it prints exactly hello world. And the file is still there. The file is still there and it's saved. And the name of the file is first.py. And I can go there and take a look at it again. And I can edit it. So I can go up and click, say, no, I don't want hello world. I want hello world 2. Okay. I save it and I run it. Run module. I saved it with Control S. So if you look here, you can save with Control S. So I run it with F5. It prints hello world 2. Okay, so I can do all this. Okay. So a few things. You see this line, what about this line that has prints the word hello world? That did not get printed. Okay. The reason it did not get printed is because I put a hash before it. When you put a hash on many machines, this is shift 3. When you put a hash, then this is a comment. Okay. So this is a comment. So print. So I put a comment to tell me what the program does. Okay. It prints the words hello world. Okay. And you see that is coded. This is in green, sorry, is in red because it's a command. So ideally, this is part of what it does. It does all this color coding. So what's the difference between this and R package? Unfortunately, I don't know anything about R. Okay, so I don't know anything about R. So okay, so this you see is in red, and it's because I have the pound key before it. So this is a comment. So I can also put this is a comment. Then this is another comment. I save with Control S. I run with F5. If you like, you can go to run module. So it's each time it prints hello world 2. The comment, it doesn't print. If there's no voice, you probably should log out and log in again. So you probably can log out and log in again. How do you clear this shell? I'm not sure, but maybe if I do restart shell, no. I'm not sure how to clear the shell. Yeah, that's a good question. You should find out how to clear the shell so that everything. Okay, where should you save the file? You decide. You can save it anywhere, or you save it in a place where you remember. So for me, I created a folder and I was able to save it. So you see, I can do print hello world 2. I can use double quotes or you can use single quotes. Three. So this is with single quotes and it still works. So I can run with F5. Okay, so there's hello world 2, hello world 3. So they work the same whether you use single quote or double quotes. There are circumstances where you need to use double quotes, and if you get to one of those, I'll let you know. There's another way you can put comments. Some comments are very long, so you can put comments by using 3 quotes, and then you put the comment. And then yet another comment. And then you close it with 3 quotes. Okay, there's a problem because the color should have changed. Let me try. Let me try this first before I see what is happening. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that it did not change the color. Let me see. Yeah, so you can also have comments using 3 quotes. Okay. So you can use 3 quotes. They can be single quotes, but at the end, you end it with 3 quotes also. So everything is a comment. You can use double quotes also, 3 double quotes. Okay. So I put 3 double quotes and then I can run it again. And you see that everything I've written is not printed except the hello world 2 and hello world 3. These are the only thing that are printed. Every other thing in triple quotes is not printed because it's a comment. And every other thing that I put with a hash is not printed also because it's a comment. The good thing about about using triple quotes or triple quotes for comment is that you can write a lot of comments, not just one line. With hash, you can use hash for each line. Okay. But if you want to write many things, you can just use these comments like this. Okay. So this is the first one. If you like, you can close it. You will come back to it and it will still be there. So let's go to the next thing, and that is variables and operators. So I close this. My shell is still there. And the next thing is variable and operators. So if you take a look at the short schedule I wrote, I hope I can still find it. Yeah, so I think we did this first one, your first Python program and Python, and then now we'll go to variables and operators. Okay. Does anybody have a question? Yes, it would be good to know how to clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the lecture, sir. Sorry, sir, I want to quickly ask how we can open and save file on a new page for those of us that are using like Linux systems, sir. Linux operating system.
If you are using Linux, okay, there are many things. So, what do I do now? Okay, if you are using, okay, let's go step by step and just use Linux and IDLE 3. Yes, there are other editors apart from IDLE 3. Later in the week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, we introduce you to Jupyter. So download the Anaconda, so you have Anaconda, and then we can use it with Jupyter IDLE later in the week. Pierre Paul, who will be teaching you also, he's going to use Jupyter, so it's good if you already have the Jupyter notebook installed maybe by Wednesday or Thursday. But you can download it now, spend today, tomorrow, and the first part of Wednesday downloading it. Okay, for those that have Linux machines, you can do the same and use IDLE 3. Okay. So at your terminal, just type IDLE 3, and then the same IDLE terminal like this is going to appear. So I'm not able to show you because I don't have it on my, okay. Let me try. I don't know. Maybe it will work, maybe it will not work. Because my machine, you won't believe, I still have Ubuntu 14. So let me try to. Let me try. I'll say yes. So I'm installing IDLE. Wait. Yes, you can use PyCharm also. So PyCharm is another editor, but the problem with PyCharm is if you just download PyCharm, you won't have many of the libraries that you need. Like, I'm not sure PyCharm contains NumPy, SciPy, and many of the scientific libraries that you need. So that's why I'm not using PyCharm. I'm recommending you use IDLE now to learn basics, and then by Wednesday, we start learning about Jupyter. With if you install Jupyter, so if you install Anaconda, Anaconda comes with Python that has many packages that you need. Oh, unless you get PyCharm Pro. If you get PyCharm Pro, then yes, it has SciPy and scientific packages. So I'm responding to BJ. But if you only install the community version of PyCharm, there's no SciPy. You have to install all of those by hand yourself. Okay. So I've installed now IDLE 3 on my Ubuntu 14. So now I type IDLE 3. So you see similar thing comes up. Okay. So you can install it also on your machine. Okay, so you can install it similarly on your machine. So I go to options, I can configure it also. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of fonts. Okay, let me just increase the size of the fonts to say 18. So if I type there, you're able to see it. Okay. So it's similar, so I can do 2 plus 5. I hit enter and it comes. And I can go to edit, file, new file. So I can do this is a comment. And I can type my print, hello world. I close it. I save either Control S, or if you like, you go to File, Save. I have to remember where I saved it. Now, so you choose exactly where you wanted to save it. I think I will save it here, and I'll create a folder that I'll call Python training. What did I do? No, this goes up. Sorry. I think you need to create a folder beforehand. Save. So I want to put it here. I'll just drop it in here. So I'll call it first. So I save it in there, and it is saved as first. And then I can run it with F5, run module, and it prints hello world. Okay. So this is the first Python. Let me see if I do. Yeah. Okay. So I can save it also, and then run with F5. It still prints hello world. The comment is not printed. Okay. So let's go to variables and operators now. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to open a new file. Before I start, I'm going to okay. So I start variables. I save it. It asks me where I want to save it. I think I'll just save it in this place. Call it variables. I'll save it. Okay. So a variable is just a name that you give to a data that you need to store, or to a data that you need to store and manipulate in a program. That's what a variable is. So let's say we need to store the age of a user. Okay. First, you have to initialize the variable you want to use. If you don't initialize the variable and you try to use it, then Python is going to give you a problem. Okay, so let's put user age. We initialize it. Okay, so let's put 0. It doesn't have to be 0. It can be something. In this case, we'll just use the age in integers. So let's do 14. Okay, we initialize it. A simple thing you can do is you can use the code to know when somebody was born. Okay, so I can do user age is 14. Okay, so every time you declare a new variable, you have to give it an initial value. It's very important. Okay, so if you don't give it an initial value, it's going to give you a problem. So let's do this. What I want to do is I want to print. I want to know when the person was born. So I'm going to print 2020 minus the user age. Sorry, this is 2021. So let's print 2021 minus the user age. Okay. So this, what will this do? It will take the user age and it will print the year in which the user was born. Okay, so I run it. So if the person is 14 years old, then the code tells me the person was born in 2007. How smart can your code be? Okay. Okay, but this illustrates what we do. User age is this, and you do this. Let me try to do something. I'm going to print another user age. Sorry, the year the person was born, 2021, minus user age 2. Okay, you see, I've not defined anything called user age 2. Okay, let me, I'm writing this because some of my students can do something like this. So I'll define user age 2 after I have tried to use it. Let's call it 42. You see, so the code reads this program. The interpreter reads the program from the beginning downwards. Okay, so it knows the value of user age is 14. It prints 2021 or 2021, an integer minus another integer. I tell it to print 2021 minus another integer, which I've not defined. Later on, I define the other integer. You see, but the interpreter, it reads from big top down. So at this point, I know what user h2 is. And user h2 has not been defined as a variable. Okay. Someone will say, yes, we define it later. Yes, but at this point, the interpreter does not know that I defined anything. So let's try to run it. Okay. So everybody be on the page and try to run this, and then you see what you get. So remember, every time you define a variable, you have to initialize it. You have to give it an initial value. Okay, so did you try to run it, and what did you get?
It gives an error from my side.
Okay, there's an error. So let me try to run mine also. Okay, so one thing you find out that is the first one ran, that's the one that gave you also 2007. The second one did not run. You see, it says there's a problem in line 6. This is something that is very good about the interpreter. It tries as much as possible to tell you exactly what the problem was and the line in which the problem is. So just like people, when they go to doctors, you don't just tell the doctor, I'm sick. Okay, you can say I'm sick, but the doctor will now ask you, do you have a headache? Is your feet hurting? Do you have problems breathing? They'll start to try to ask you particular questions. So also here, you need to be very specific. So it tells you line 6 has a problem, and it tells you exactly user h2 is not defined. Okay, you can see and say that, oh, I defined it later. Yes, you defined it later, but at this point is not defined. If you go here also, you see that it's exactly line 6. The way you can see that it's line 6 is in the bottom right corner. Here it shows you that line 6 column 5. That's where I am. Of course, you can use an option in IDLE.
Line 6 is which one is line 6?
Yeah, line 6 is okay. Line 6 is this one because user H2 is there. So it doesn't only tell you, it says file this, line 6 in module this, print this, name error, name user H2 is not defined. So it tells you exactly what the error is. Okay. So now I know user H2 is not defined. So I have to try to define it before I use it. There's actually a way to put the line numbers. Let me say configure ideally. The reason I don't want to use it is because some people may think this is part of the that this is part of the code. Let me see. There's a way to do it to show line numbers. I forgot. I think I was able to show it, and then I felt.
Maybe go to options.
Yeah, I went to options.
Show line numbers.
Oh yeah, because if you're on Windows, then it shows you that. Yeah. So I think if you're on Windows, it shows you. Is it here? No. Okay, I'll do file, a new file. Yeah, on Windows, I think it shows you show line numbers. Yeah. And then the line numbers should be there. Okay, for Windows. But you see, I don't want to do it because then someone, when they copy my code, when they copy my code, they're going to copy this true as part of it and say to user age. No, this is just the line number. Okay, so in this particular case, I have it on my Linux. You can below here it shows you line 6 column 13. Let me see if it does that in the Windows version. Yeah, it does that also. So if you go bottom right, you see line 2 column 12. So I'm on line 2 there. So I don't need this this line numbers to show. Okay, so I can hide it. Hide line numbers. So I know I'm on line 2 column 2 because below here it tells me line 2 column 12. Okay. So I define user age 40 equals 42, user age 2 equals 42, but I did that after I had asked it to print. So the logical thing would be to remove it from here and put it exactly here. Okay. So now I can run, and I run module F5, and now there's no error. So you see it did a restart, and there's no error. It prints 2007 and then 1979. So if your age is 42, then you are born in 1979. Okay, not quite. Okay, because let's say you are born in, let me think. Yeah, because let's say you are born in November 1979. You are 42 years old, but your age is, right? I don't know. Okay, I can't think now. But depending on when you were born, then this is correct. Okay. Yeah, depending on when you were born, then this is correct. Okay. Okay. This is not the only thing you can do. You can define 2 variables at a go. Okay. Many times when I write a code, I don't do this, but other people do it, and it's good for you to recognize what they're doing. Okay. I can define. So first, let me define. So this 14 is an integer. So this user age is holding a number. Sorry, not holding. Is referring to a number that's an integer. You can make it refer to a number that is a float, like 14.0, but then it won't be age. The other thing you can do is I can define a username. Let's define a username Peter. So you see, when I define 14, I didn't put quotes around it. But when I define Peter, I put quotes around it. So this other name, Peter, is a string. Okay. So this one is an integer. This is user h2 is an integer. Username is a string. So for strings, you put quotes around them. You can put single or double quotes. Let's define something as user temperature. So let's define Peter's temperature. So today, we measured his temperature was 26.2. So now this other one, user temperature, is a float, okay, because it has a decimal place. Now, let me show you what some people do, and it's good for you to know it so that when you see it, you are not disturbed. Okay? You can define many things in one go. So I can define user age. I can define user name, both of them like this. And then Peter. Yes. Sorry, please, could you mute yourself? Okay. Yes, let me see the questions. Oh, okay. Someone told us you can do Control G and it will give you the line you are on. Okay. So you can do Control G and it will give you the line. I tried without space after signs equals. No, I don't think it will work even if you don't have space. Oh, okay, let's try. Maybe it does something else that I don't know. So if you do this, I'm not sure this will work, but let's see. Yeah, it still gives you user age not defined. You have to define the user age before you use it. Okay. Okay. So what I was talking about is this habit, this thing that people do. You can define many things together in one line. So you can define user age, username in one line. Then this is 30 and this is Peter. Okay. So that means user age is 30 and the username is Peter. So you can define those in one go. This is equivalent to saying, so this line, so this line 13 with user age, username equals 30 is equivalent to saying user age equals 30 and then username equals Peter. So they're equivalent. So in Python, the usernames, you can't start a username with a number. So I can't say one username. Oh, sorry, you can't start a variable with a number. I can't say 1x. Okay, equals 15. So this you can do. Here, let me write user age. Oh, by the way, so here there will be an error. Okay, because I didn't define user age. So let's run it. So it tells me user age is not defined. Okay. Well, let's define user age now and then use it. But you see, it already told me there's an error here. Okay, syntax error. So I can do this and I can run it. So it already told me invalid syntax. And if you look at it, you see it has highlighted this 1x equals 15. Because you can't put a number before, I mean, a variable name cannot start with a number. So I can't do 1x. I can do x1. Okay. We can't do 1x. So it has to start with a number. Sorry, it has to start with a letter. Okay. So you can start with any letter, A to Z, or capital A to Z. Within it, you can have numbers. Okay. So it's A to Z or A to Z. Within it, you can have numbers. So you can have numbers like, so I can do my name 1, okay, equals 24.24. Sorry, my name 1 equals, and then my name 2. So you can do this. Okay, you can do this because you can it starts with any letter. Okay, you can include also underscores. So you can do my name _1, my name _2. So the first character cannot be a number. Okay. So I can do 2x1 or 2. Yeah. Then there's some words that are reserved. If you don't want to have like crazy behavior of your program, then it's better not to use the reserved words. Reserved words are like print, input, if, while, and other ones. Later on, you get to know those words, and then it's good to avoid them. Okay. Okay, a number of things I try to do. So one thing is, if I want to write, one thing that's very important also is that Python is case sensitive. So if you do username, it's not the same thing as username. Okay. You see, this one has a capital U and a capital N. So these two are different. Yeah, so these two are different. So if you do print username, and also you can do username, the smaller one. You see, you get different names. This line, second line, does not overwrite the first line because the names are different. Because the variables are different. The variables are different, so they don't override one another. So let me try, I have to remove this because this doesn't make sense. Well, instead of removing it, I can hash it. So that's a comment. Reserve words is a comment also. So this is a comment also. So let's run it. So I will run it now. Run module. Oh yeah. Is it important to put the capital letter in username? No, it's not important. So I'll tell you what I've tried to do. One thing I try to do is, I try to make my code as readable as possible. So I can just do username. Somebody that comes there will probably just see is, he may not see it as username. He may just see it as use R. Oh, okay, I can't think of a particular case. The good thing, the reason why I put capital is one thing. Okay, I can do this username. Yes, let's do this. I can do this username. Then it's clear that it's username. Okay. If you just write it as one word username, then it may not be clear to the person what it is. Imagine I do something like I write my first time in school. This is a variable, my first time in school. In this case, okay, you can say you can read it. Okay. Let me guess. I think this was my first time in school. So in this case, you can read it and say, oh, okay, my first time in school. But if I do this, my first time in school. See, I capitalize the first letter, then it's more readable to me. Not to the computer, but to me. Or even if I want to make it clearer, I'll do it my first time in school. So this line is very clear for many people reading it, that I've declared a variable called my first time in school, and I write it as 1978. Okay. This case also is kind of clear, but not too clear. There's a capital M, capital F, capital T, so people can see. This case is really not very clear. And unfortunately, you can't put a space. So you say, can't I do like my first time in school equals like, no, you can't do this last one. Okay. So this one is called camel case. So some go up, some go down, some go up, some go down at the hump of the camel, and capitalizing helps you to see. Usually I prefer to do this because it saves me time and space of typing. But this one is clearer because everybody sees that it's my first time in school. Blah, blah. This one is wrong. You can't put spaces in there. Okay, so when I do something like this, username equals Lulu, or username equals, or user age equals 42. Okay, what I'm doing is the number 42. Okay, what I'm doing is this variable user age 2 refers to the number 42. This variable user age 14 refers to the number 14. Okay. I don't want to say points to, but it refers to that number. Okay. And then if you do something like, okay, let's start. Let's do x equals 5 and y equals 10. If you do something like this, then you say x refers to the number 5, y refers to the number 10. If I do x equals y, that means x refers to what is inside. No, x refers to what y refers to. Okay, this is what this means. Okay, this is different from y equals x. Yes, I know in mathematics x equals y and y equals x are the same thing, but in this case, no. X on the left hand side in this first case means that this is a variable and it refers to the number 5. Okay. Y on this side means is a variable, it refers to the number 10. It can refer to the number 10.1 if you make it 10.1. X equals y here means this variable x should now refer to what is contained. No, should now refer to what variable y refers to. Okay, so let's put a print statement here. So here I put print x equals print y equals y, and then after I do x equals y, I'll write print second time x equals, and I put x. Okay, so I'm going to print it now. So before we do it, you should be able to look and think about what the results will be. Okay. So you start with x equals 5 and then y equals 10. You print their values. So this is just, it will print this, a string, and then it will print the value of x. It will print a string, and then it will print the value of y. And then I say x equals y. Okay. Okay, let's print second time x or second time y also. So now again, I run with F5. Okay. So the first time x is 5 and y is 10. The second time x is 10 and y is still 10. The reason that worked this way is because here I said x equals y. So x now refers to what y refers to. Or you can say x now refers to what is contained in y, which was 10. So you get that second time. So let's look at what you know. So you get that x is 10, and second time y is still 10. If you flip it and say y equals x, y will now refer to what x was referring to. So y will change now to 5, and x will still remain as 5. So if you run it, F5, okay, x remains as 5, y has changed to 5. So x equals y and y equals x are not the same thing. In mathematics, they are. In computing, because the equal sign in this case does not mean equals. It means you assign something to something. Okay. Okay. So there are some basic operators.
Is that interchanging the yx?
What?
Changing x and y?
No, it does not interchange x and y. No. Oh, shit. It does not interchange x and y. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello. I'm right.
Yeah. It does not interchange x and y.
Hello?
It does not interchange them.
Okay, I agree. Okay, I agree.
Okay, so okay, this is a good thing. I can give you an exercise and then you show us, and then you see how to interchange x and y. So one can do that. Okay. So there are many Python operators. Okay. So there are basic Python operators. So I'll write them out. So there's plus, and then there's minus, there's multiplication, there's division, there's this floor division, which I'll tell you about. There's modulus is percent, and there's star. I think there could be other ones. The plus, if you are dealing with integers, it just adds two integers together. Okay, or it adds two variables together. So let's try it. So x is 5, y is 10. No, let's do x is 5, y is 2. Then you can do x plus y. If I do this, I just type x plus y this way. Okay, let's try it. You see that it will not print it, but it will calculate it. How do I know it's calculated? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Okay. So you see, it didn't do anything. It didn't give x7, x plus y equals 7, because I didn't tell it to print it. Okay. Let's define a new variable u, which is x plus y. Still, it will not write it, but if you tell it to print u, now it's going to write 7. Okay, so now write 7 for us. So you can do different things with this. So let me try to print a few things. So let's print the addition. Let's print the subtraction. So I should comment it. I just print x minus y. Print multiplication. Let's do division. Let's do floor division. What floor division means is it takes the integer part of the division. Okay. So it takes the integer part of the division. We could do modulus also. I'll put a comment here. Integer part. Division. Then there's modulus, so print x. This one prints the remainder when x is divided by y. And then power print x to start at y. So is x to the power of y. Okay. So you can do this and then you see that it prints everything. So I can run. So I hope you can follow this also. Yeah. So it prints 7, which is the addition, 3, which is the subtraction, 10, which is the multiplication, 2.5, which is the division, 2, which is the floor division, so the integer part of 2.5, 1, which is the remainder when 5 is divided by 2. 5 divided by 2 is 2 remainder 1, sorry. And then this 25 is 5 to power 2. Okay. Let's talk about more assignment operators apart from the ones we have. So these are good ones, but let's talk about more that you'll see often. So these are operators like plus equals, star equals, minus equals, and another one star equals. So these are operators. Okay, I'll tell you what they mean. Okay. So if I write x plus equals 5, okay, what I mean is the equivalent to x equals x plus 5 is equivalent to that. So x plus equals means x equals itself, but then you add 5 to it. Okay. So if you see something like this, then x equals itself, and then the operator, and then the next variable. So if I do something like this, a operator equals b, so it's equivalent to can I slow down a little? Okay. So a op equals b. This is equivalent to saying a equals a, and then the operator, and then b. So this operator can be plus, can be multiplication, can be minus, can be star. So the operator can be any of this. Yeah, okay, so I think I'll start. So for instance, let's start and say that x is 3. So I initialize x to 3, and I can do x plus equals 5. Okay. Then I can print x. So you see here x is 3. What I've done here is to say take x and add 5 to it, and then put that value back in x. So the right hand side says take x, add 5 to it, that value, put it back in x. So remember this A up equals B. You see, I don't put a space between the up and the equals. Okay. So it's up equals together. So it's a new operator if you want. So I'll say A up equals B. So this is equivalent to A. A equals A, then the operator, then B. So initially, yeah, but maybe you put too many equals. Okay. So initially x is 3, and then I do x plus equals 5. So to start with x is 3, so let's print it first. Okay, so it's going to print 3 for me. Then I add 5 to x, and then it's going to print. So let's do it. I hit F5. Yeah. So the first time it printed 3 for me. The next time it printed 8. Why does it say it's invalid for you? Okay, so you have to show. Let me try to section and print a comment here. And print. So I'm putting a space, and then I'm putting star. I'm just printing this so that we see where the part starts from. So I hit F5. Okay. So it printed 3, and then it printed 8. Okay. So I print a space with this one. I print nothing, but it's a space actually. Then I print star. I set x to be 3, and then I print x. So at this point, x is 3, is going to print x. Here I do x plus equals 5. It's equivalent to x plus 5. So you add 5 to x and you put it back in x. So when you print it, you get 8. Okay. So now if I do this, x minus equals 2. What will I get? What do you think I will get? I do print minus equal to
6.
Yes. So it's going to give you 6 because this is equivalent to x equals x minus 2. So it's going to give me 6. So it's going to give me 6 because at this point, you see, at this point, x is 8 because we've added 5 to it. So then after that, I subtract 2 from x. So 8 minus 2 is 6, and I put it back in x. So x now will be 6. Yeah. Okay, good. So I print it to be 6. Let's do another one. X star equals 5. Okay. What do you think I'm going to get with this?
30.
Yeah, so you're going to get 30. So this is equivalent to x is x star 5. So let's do one more. X star star equals 2. What do I get? Yeah, you get 900. Okay, because it's equivalent to x raised to power 900. Okay. Let's check our predictions. F5. Yeah, so we said 3, 8, we said 6, 30, 900. Okay. So this is correct. This is accurate. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to start with data types in Python. So I think this is it. Does anybody do we have any questions? I'm sorry I went a little fast. Sorry. I'm sorry I went fast near the end.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, mine is not a question, sir, but I want to please that probably you can just forward us the file. You can just
Yes,
send it to all of us, the file, so that we can follow the steps once again. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Sir.
So yes, so I'll do that. I'll send you a link to the recording, and I'll send you the files that we want to. Okay. So I'll send that. Somebody is asking how to open files and print them. So we are going to do that in number 7. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I will send you also a list of books that I will recommend. Sorry, let me do something. That information. Okay. Yeah. So I'll send you a list of books that I can recommend. Actually, there's a lot of information online, so I'll send some of them to you that you'll be able to work on. Because we are scientists, I'll also try to send some that I think are more along the line of science to everybody. I apologize that I went fast. I'll try. Actually, this past few days, I've been thinking that I need to slow down my way of speaking. So I'll try to go slower next time. So we'll start with data type.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. Sorry, I came late. I missed your introduction because I was having problem with time zone. I don't know the platform you are using and what we're supposed to do to be running our program on Python.
Oh, okay. So the easiest thing I can do is I can send you a link to the video.
Okay.
Then I think if you watch the first 15 minutes of the video, that will help to be able to do that. Basically, you have to go to python.org. Do you have a Windows machine or a Linux machine?
It's Windows.
Okay, good. So this is fine. So you go to python.org. Which Windows do you have? Windows 10 or Windows 7?
8.1.
Okay, so I think you're fine. So you can just go to python.org and you can download. Okay, so you go to, yeah. So you go to python.org. Let me go there.
Okay. Okay. I checked my system. I have if I search for Python, I can have 3.7, Python 3.7.
Well, that means you already have it installed.
I can, but it runs in DOS. Is it the one you are using?
No, I'm using an IDLE. You can use something that. So basically, if you go to python.org, you're on this page, and you can, yeah, python.org, and then you can go to downloads. Actually, for you, you can download Python 3.10.
Okay.
You see, me, I cannot because I'm using Windows 7.
Okay.
So you can download it, save the file, and then double click it and install it.
Can it overwrite the one I already have?
You know, I'm not sure whether it will overwrite. I think the one you already have will still be there. But then when you go to start to choose a Python, then you'll be able to choose the particular one that you want.
If I go to start, if I search for Python, when I open it, it shows me those environments.
Don't search for Python, search for IDLE.
Okay. Okay.
Search for IDLE.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you type IDLE and hit return, then it should open exactly this for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. An interface like this.
Yes.
Okay.
And then with the interface like this, you can, if you type things on the interface like this, then when you close the interface, what you have typed disappears. So I think what you should do is you should go to File and click New File. And then with the new file, you can now start typing.
Okay.
And you can do the 1+3 or user age. You can do all this and then you can save. So you go to File and you'll be able to save.
Okay.
You ask you where you want to save and then you save it.
Anywhere. You can save anywhere.
Yeah, but you have to remember where you saved it.
Okay.
That's it. You have to remember. So I save it as time 1. Okay, I remember where I saved it. And then you can run it. So I run module. You can run it with F5. In this case, I didn't tell it to print anything. So that's why it did what I wanted it to do, but it did not print anything.
Okay.
So user age is 42. I can now say print user age. I save it and I run it. F5. You'll see that it prints 42. And it used the program time1.py that I just saved. So it prints 42. So this is one thing you can do.
Okay.
Okay. So tomorrow, please. Yeah, okay, great. So tomorrow I will open this place at 14 o'clock GMT +2, but I won't come until 15 o'clock GMT +2. So the reason is there's a possibility of getting a grant and I want to listen and be able to coordinate, but I'll open it and you will be able to talk with one another or discuss with one another. Today I'll send you the link to the video, and then I'll also send you, okay, let me stop the video because then it will be too big. Yeah, I'll send you the link to the video